Right on, writers, and welcome back to the Books by Adrian author platform. This is Tuber Book Club, where we read, discuss, review books written by author tubers. Wow. All right, it's gonna be one of those. I didn't do my vocal warm ups before I started. All right. So yes, we are covering the second half of the Dryad's Crown today, and I'm really excited to do so. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So if this is your first time, my name is Adrian Santiago. I am the author of this book right here, Mythic, Shadow of the Spark. I'm feeling a little down today, guys. I put this into a self-published science fiction competition. It's their third year doing it, I believe, and I just got cut today, right before the quarterfinalists were announced. So I'm kind of bummed out about it. Not the best advertisement for my book right at this moment, but I just wanted to share my emotional state. That being said, their feedback was very, very much appreciated and helpful. They didn't just, crap all over it. They really were very constructive with their criticism, and I really appreciated it. And at the end of the day, a couple of people read my book, so that's great. Today, though, we're not talking about my book. We're talking about The Dryad's Crown by David Hopkins. I read it entirely on the audiobook, read by Lindsay Dorcas, and I must say it is outstanding. If we remember from last week or last 2 weeks ago, last episode, I clashed a little bit with the first of the books of the chapters, and then from there, I was pretty much in. And this half is no different. I really only felt a little lukewarm about one chapter. But otherwise, I was really into it. I didn't take a lot of notes because I didn't have much to critique. I was just kind of enveloped in the world, and occasionally I would remember, oh yeah, I should probably write something down, just so I at least remember what happened. But yeah, man, for the most part, I cruised right through this. I just read a different part every night, and they were nice and contained, and it was great. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on the book. 2 thumbs up. Highly recommend. And if you clash at all with the first chapter, it's because it's written like a fairy tale, and that changes, and stick with it. And by the time you get into the second book, you're great. All right, let's bring out my peoples. We're probably going to keep it to an hour today. We have Ben who needs to go within an hour. And we're also missing Bethany and Shannon today. So they had things that they needed to do, some obligations, no problem. Emma and Ben are here to rock it with us today, and then we get to nominate the new books, which will be the first one that we are going to read in 2024. Lots to do today, but we're going to breeze right through it. Let's get on it with it. First up, Miss Emma Bennett.
Hey.
Hi. Tell the people who you are, where you're from, what you're doing.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on here, Adrian. My name is Emma Bennett. I'm a UK-based writer of kissing books mainly, but I also write children's picture books and non-fiction for writers as of like a month and a half ago. I'm also a freelance developmental editor and a creative writing coach. My latest book, it's been out for about a month now, and it is A Christmas Truce. It's a contemporary romance. It's great, just buy it. It's super, super Christmassy. It's got a cute puppy in it, all the good things.
Sold with the puppy, and that cover is like so classic and clean, and like it just says Christmas. You know exactly what you're getting. I love that cover. All right, next up, the great and powerful and ever on the move, Ben Pick. Senor Ben Pick, who are you? Where? Nope, you're not Bethany. You're Ben. Who you are? Where you're from? What you got going on? Oh, you're muted, buddy. Wah, wah.
I am Ben Pick, and now I can be heard. So I am every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I give questionable writing advice through Running Metaphors as Running to Write on YouTube. I also have 2 published books behind me, and I'm working on my third right now. I got a really cool feedback from Meeble Art. I know Adrian and I kind of go back and forth on the quality of the covers. I found something that I really like, and he did not with his cover, but that's fine. And yeah, so on Writing to Write, I'm also just starting off how to write to the 5 senses. So I did Taste, which, following those of you in the US, this is the week following Thanksgiving, so it was really apt, and I had some great photos in there from some of the things I ate. Coming up next Monday, and I don't know, 4 days now, half a week. Time is relative. I will be talking about smells. So how do you write smells into your story?
How do you write smells into a story?
Yeah.
Interesting. Damn it. I don't know
I
if
have
I've
to also
really...
limit myself to fart jokes too.
Yeah, you can only get away with so many of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but unexpectedness is the key. Like, they can't see it coming. As long as you surprise them with the fart joke, it's always good. All right, so let me get we've got if you have any spoiler-free questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to talk very quickly, spoiler-free, about the book. Emma, you came in first. Your spoiler-free thoughts on the second half of the Dryad's Crown, please.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as the first half. I don't know whether that's just because it was quite rushed with me reading it, because it's day 28 of NaNoWriMo, and I am a crazy woman. Although I've only cried once because of Nano so far this year. So
only once.
only once. So yeah, it was kind of trying to fit it in. So maybe that was part of it. There was, in the first half, I really enjoyed the kind of telling aspect of it, which I think, Adrian, you were saying that you weren't such a fan. I found it a bit much in the second half. And then the fact that the story is completely taken over kind of by a different main character. But I really enjoyed it, and I definitely wanted to finish it. But yeah, just maybe not as much as the first half.
Ben, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I didn't have nearly as many problems with finishing it or with time, because the audiobook, again, is fantastic. And I was doing that I was listening to it while walking my dog. So obviously I have a whole bunch of time there to just do whatever.
Smart way.
Yeah, but it also means that, like, the story was kind of broken up for me at very odd parts.
Yeah.
So I'd be like right in the middle of something. But that being said, overall, I liked it. I think, Adrian, we might agree with where there were some parts that didn't quite work, but
we'll see.
Yeah, I absolutely love the fight scenes, and I wasn't as put off by the new main character, although they were there in the first couple of books. My biggest concerns were in the, let's call them transportation chapters, the in-between chapters where they're going from one place to another. And then, I don't know, the ending to me felt like it was ramping up for something and then just book ended, which was fine for like the first couple of books. Sorry, when we say books, these are actually chapters within the book.
They're just really, really big chapters. Like they're supposed to be novellas, each one, supposedly.
Exactly. And I feel like this just chose, it works for the book because it definitely makes me want to read the next part, but it makes the entire book ending feel, I don't know, just off to me.
That's interesting, because I felt exactly the opposite about the ending, but we'll talk about that.
We will.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's say hi to the chat before we go any further. There's a couple people in there. I saw just Ava. She hasn't read it, but she's saying, hey. I don't know if you're going to stick around. You were talking to Emma, so hopefully you do. But yeah, if you don't want spoilers, then yeah, bye. And then it's mostly just Emma and me, like, wishing that other people would join us. So we'll see. We'll see who comes in. Okay. All right. So let's get into the chapters themselves. Book 5. The Maricel Prelude, I really, really enjoyed. The battle sequences are great. Ben, I agree with you. The action is very, very well done. And I feel like I learned a lot about action sequences reading this. The Kret fight in particular stands out to me. In this early half of or this early part of the second half.
Oh, it only gets better.
It only gets better, exactly. But like at this point, like, I hadn't seen anything better yet, and I was like, "This is shit." Like, yeah. the staff getting left behind is a huge thing. Using the spear versus being used to using the staff. That's all stuff that I really love. I love how he like takes that stuff into account with his characters. You know, she's fighting with a different weapon. She has to now fight differently, and she changes the entire way that she fights because of it. Very, very cool stuff like that I was really, really into. It goes on, but that's where I'm at least with the beginning of this particular chapter. It dives right in and it sucks me right in, and I love it. How about you guys? I'm not gonna. No, you guys decide amongst yourselves.
Okay. Yeah, I loved the fighting. I thought it was really, really well done. Perfect mix of kind of the action and you actually being worried about the heroes, but also kind of knowing their feelings as well and learning a bit more about them with how they treat other people and things.
Mm.
So yeah, really, really loved the action in this bit.
Mm-hmm. I just like how well the goals were outlined. So, you know, they arrive, it's like Normandy, where they arrive on the beaches and they see the invading army, and there's a breach in the wall that they got of the defenders, and so they need to.
The whole thing with the breach is so cool too, man, because like the earthquake going down and everything. Like, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, so it's like we need to fight our way to the breach, and then I can, you know, Silbrey has the magic to close the hole, and so you have like this, that, and the other, and then on the way she runs into Kret, and so there's this whole thing there, and like you can see exactly what the characters need to accomplish throughout the entire fight scene, so you don't get lost within the chaos of a normal battle.
Yeah,
and I just think that that the mastery of what was going on in each place, and there was even some emotional ties where Silbrey sort of takes on some random student who just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and got drafted into this, and now he's fighting for his life. I did feel like there was a little bit of plot armor because it's a very, very small band having to fight their way through thousands of essentially orcs or, you know, gnolls as the, you know, giant dogs who are. I never really got a sense of where their strength lies. So Kret is obviously far superior to everyone else, but these gnolls seemed like they were not as strong as an actual person, and yet it also seemed like they were also as strong as an actual person. So
the way that it came off to me was they're like ogres. They're like these big like you know, bulky, slow but strong to a degree. Like, I don't know, but probably about as strong as any human, I would assume.
Right.
I was just picturing like human size, like, you know, monsters.
Yeah, like werewolf doggy things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that. RC Scott just came in with some fire.
Sweet.
Yeah. No, I you know what I really like about this entire sequence, despite the plot armor, which sure, is the sense of location as you go through it, because like it almost gets broken up into pieces. Like the closer she's getting to the breach, there's like another section where something else is happening, and she gets a little closer and something else, and she gets and then like Orin steps in for her, and goodbye Orin, and that whole thing, and yeah, like it's rough. Like, and at this point we've been around these characters for a while, so once they start dying off like that, like you're like, oh man. It starts to hit later on in a later book. Like there's a death that gets me a lot harder for sure. What else happened this one? Oh, okay. So the fantasy trans character, I forget the name. I apologize. I didn't write it down. I was listening and I was at work cutting trees and stuff. That was a very cool concept. There's like a whole like part of their culture around trans characters. That's pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was quite clever and quite individual with like the potion and the fact that they didn't bottle around with them. But
and that's like their, you know, the thing where like, oh, now I know that this person, you know, it's like the only like identifying factor otherwise. Yeah, pretty cool. In a world with magic, like that makes sense. So this is where Silbrey meets, and I hope I'm getting this right, Thimbleberry Fig, is that right? Lil Faye, a sprite, and many more from there. That whole thing was awesome. We're so deep into the fantasy now, like straight up fairies are like having full on conversations with you. I love it.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we're talking about the same chapter, so it's not really spoilers. But it's
No,
so
yeah,
cool
same
how at that point, there are the gnolls, the enemy outside the gate. They've sealed the breach, and so they're catapulting in dead bodies of the fallen soldiers. And so everybody's like, "Oh no, this is horrible. That it's obviously doing damage, but it's a horrible thing to experience, and does really bad things for morale." But Silbrey,
Yeah.
sees through it and knows, oh no, like this entire thing, yes, all that is true, but also the General Kret is now in the city. Like he used all the hurling bodies through the air into to hide himself.
Yeah.
Being launched into the city.
Getting in, yeah. Which is crazy and awesome.
It is awesome, but like that means that he fell literally, hundreds of feet and didn't break any bones. So
you gotta roll. You gotta roll. When you land, you roll. And then as long as you roll, it doesn't hurt. Like there's no fall damage if you roll.
Halo rules do not exist in the real world.
Everyone knows that, Ben. Everyone knows that. That's a fact.
And he's super strong and stuff. Like, I didn't have a problem with that. I was like, yeah.
It's like the Hulk jumping really far and then landing on his feet. It's the Hulk. Yeah. Like, he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and you know what happened to
Plus
Bruce
he rolled.
Wayne when he
Plus he rolled. Bruce Wayne would definitely know how to roll at the end of that.
He said for 8 years because he hurt his knees doing that fall.
That's one interpretation of Bruce Wayne. That's not everybody's Batman. So cool your jets.
Ben Batman.
I will fight you over Batman. All right. Okay.
That's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode. Okay. Maricel, saved by magic, but still suffers consequences like the nerve damage and stuff. Loved that. It's not all like, hand wavy magic away. Everything's fine. Like there's still consequences. There's still things that she has to deal with. And man, I think Maricel kind of became one of my favorite characters in the second half. And she's she's such a tragic character that like by the end, I just feel so bad, man. Like, I just feel so bad for her. So, and this is one of the reasons why the ending like really works for me is because I got so invested in Maricel that by the time that final line is spoken, it's like,
I just felt that final. I mean, I know we shouldn't be talking about this bit now, but I just felt it was kind of so obvious. I was like, yeah, like, sure.
We'll get there.
Ben. All right. Gideon's dad's fate versus Maricel and whether or not like her conversation with Silbrey there, that was pretty intense and awesome. I like that scene too. Wow, I took a lot of notes for chapter 5 and then like so few for the rest. Closing of the breach. Awesome. Battle was well done all the way through. Silbrey being more powerful in the Grove was really cool. At that point, we're learning more and more about that. It's leaning into even announcing her, like she's straight out saying what she is out loud to people. You know what I mean? Like she's come a long way with that. And what else? Becoming one with the earth, sensing another earthquake impending. Like it drove the story forward so much. Just her like putting her bare feet on the ground, like that kind of stuff is really cool to me. I love when an author can pull that kind of stuff off. At this point, just her tapping into her power is progressing the plot so much further. I love it. All right.
I was going to say it was really cool how where was I going with that? Kret Bonebreaker. So she finally kills him, and then we find out, we probably shouldn't have done that, which undoes one of my comments from 2 weeks ago where I was criticizing
Bren.
What?
Bren.
Yeah, thank you. How she imprisoned Kret in like the under dungeon, and I'm like, that's a mistake. She's a general. She should know better. This, that, and the other. But it now makes more sense where she kind of inherently just felt that killing him would be a mistake, and so she does what she can to keep him alive, and in that way contain him. So that
gets explained further later, right? When they say something about killing a demon, like just makes it worse or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And some of those chapters that explain it are my favorite.
Right on. That's good stuff. Oh man, yeah. I know. Okay. Emma, any thoughts you want to share about chapter 5 as we're going through here?
Yeah, I thought the Grove was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Fairies, and then because I was like, oh, this is weird. Like this is happening a little bit early. That she's like destroying him. Like this is
Yeah.
weird. And then when it actually happens, and you see that there are going to be like major repercussions, I loved that. I really, really did. It kind of propelled the story forward again. You know, it was going along really well, and then it's like it just goes, oh, okay, there we go, and takes you into the next bit, which I really liked. That was very clever.
Yeah. You know, at this point, he has like he's planted some seeds early on that he's now like really starting to sow really well, because like there's a moment where she is using her fairy powers to like see far away, and she like whispers something to her son, and her son looks up like he heard her, and we've already heard him mention before that like a fairy's voice sounds like a whisper around the wind or whatever it was that he said. It's just so good where like you're seeing it from the other side now. You're seeing the payoff to the setups. It's really really well done. Sensing that the earthquake is going to be a big one, but that the daughter Maricel and her son are safe. Like the fact that she can like tell these things, and it's helping her to like plan for the future and everything. Like this is just the best. Ripping dude apart with a tree. Big
I thought it was
WTF
really,
moment.
really good. So I just thought it was really good the way that Silbrey's powers kind of develop, if you like. So kind of naturally, they kind of lead on from each other as she experiences different things and she meets different people. Yes, Panda.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The progression of her power level, like, and the more that it grows, like you like when like once she starts glowing later, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. You know, like it's on, dude. Oh, I wrote down, and this is like middle of chapter 5, maybe. Well, maybe 2/3 of the way through, with the whole ripping dude apart thing. I wrote immediately down, how is this not the end of the book? Like, what are we, like, what's still to come? You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I found myself going, like, what else am I in for? This feels like the big finish, you know? Like, but no, that's when the glowing begins. That's when the acorns acting as a network begins. Like, everything just, like, escalates so much further from there. It was crazy. The Fae being shocked by Silbrey's like rageful justice is really interesting here. Like she spent too much time with the humans kind of stuff, you know? No? Anybody? Silbrey
the
like
rage thing comes back though, so
no, yeah, like she's like almost like, and she has like this whole like seduced by the dark side type thing going on, and it takes Fig to like snap her out of it, you know? Like all that stuff was really interesting to me because as you know, Fae characters, you're either getting like the angel or you're getting the little pixie demon, and it's like it's interesting to see one that's like teetering, you know, because of her upbringing with Dahlia and all that stuff. The gnolls being are hounds, but they're also like an endless horde. Like I had no idea how many there were. They just kept coming for the rest of this book. So there's that. Like I don't really like, maybe they're not as strong as but there's just millions of them. You know what I mean? Like orcs. Dahlia having to face the families of the victims is really interesting justice. I was really into that. What did you guys think about that?
I thought it was okay. I didn't really think she'd care, to be honest, knowing what she was like
After that many though, like after like one after another after another after another.
Bored.
Yeah, I was going to say we see it. Well, we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, I mean, we know that Dahlia just doesn't care, and in fact, it's even worse because, well, slight spoiler, but once she's been there for long enough, she almost looks forward to a break in the monotony, which is the people coming to her to complain or to say, you know, you were my life, or this, that, and the other, and that is only adding to what Dahlia sees as herself. So it's like she is thriving on other people's misery.
Yeah. she's a pretty freaking evil character.
Mhm.
Marisol is now very different. Her reunion with Silbrey was really cool, though. The whole like still loves her, all that stuff. Chooses to trust her despite all the freaking red flags everywhere. Acknowledging her trauma and need. And her need of a completing half, like that whole thing was really cool. I don't know. I really love chapter 5. I thought that was really good.
Right.
That's it for my notes on 5. You guys, any more?
No.
All right. The rest, I'm going to be much faster, I promise. 6. Is Gideon a miracle? She's an impossibility. That whole thing, very interesting stuff to me. Where it leads later only gets more interesting. The talks with the dragon are like so amusing and just fascinating to me. Like I anytime that a dragon speaks in a story, it sucks me right in because that's just such a weird concept to me. Silbrey versus the captain, having to like show him mercy and stuff. A lot going on this was actually probably my next favorite chapter. Is the ship sequence. The tree on the ship is so fantastical. Seeing the whales in the ocean, all that stuff. Like I love that stuff. That reminds me of like Bran chapters in A Song of Ice and Fire, which most people hate, but I love.
I partially agree with you. I think that chapter was way too long without really anything. And at this point, we already defeated Crep Bonebreaker, so it feels like
Well, that's why it felt like kind of like a I don't know, like a nice little dip.
Lull, yeah,
but an intentional one and a needed one. I thought it was good.
True, and like you said, I did enjoy the way in which Silbrey's power is growing and the hints that Gaiden might be more than what she appears. But this chapter was a bit long. And I mean, even when I was sitting there, like I'm obviously doing something else while I'm listening to it, it just felt like it was going on and on and on. And like we didn't need to know all of the details that were revealed. And it's in general, I like the amount of world building that's given, but this felt like it was world building without a reason.
See, when I was reading it, at least I felt like not only was it like a nice respite after just chaos, but it felt like, all right, let's set up some stuff for what's to come. Like here, we're going to explain some of this stuff. We're going to set some of this stuff up and then it's going to pay off later. Like, I don't know, like it just felt like a much needed kind of chapter to me. I really liked it. Yeah.
I do think it was a little long though.
Sure, they all are. To be honest with you, they're all a little long.
I just wanted little chapters, and I kind of wanted it to be grosser because these people are, stuck on this ship for a very, very long time. It's going to get really disgusting.
You need to read A Song of Ice and Fire.
Fair enough.
He doesn't shy away from that.
I mean, you had like the two women all over each other at one point, and I was like, dude, you guys have been stuck in there for weeks. Both of you you love each other from opposite sides of the ship.
That shows what a dude I am, because I was like, ooh, the sex scene, finally something interesting. Like it's been a while. Like, all right,
let's get it on, ladies.
I was into it, man. And now you bring up just BO, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably pretty.
I mean, it's a fantasy story. Nobody bathes. My bigger problem with that scene
nobody
is
sweats in fantasy.
Well, my bigger problem is that their daughter is like in the same room.
Yeah, sure. It's like, come on. And her dad just died like months ago. Like,
that in Walking Dead, right? The dad like falls into a coma. The zombie apocalypse happens, and within a month, his wife is sleeping with his best friend in the same tent as her son. Because when the dad comes back, she's like, "Oh, don't worry, he sleeps through thunderstorms." Yeah, you've done this a lot. What? It's been a month, lady. So yeah, I get it. But yay, boobies. Still in 6 though. Gideon's test the whole like going overboard and her experience with the gods, and Silbrey's rage becoming a big problem for Marisol too, that she was like having to tackle with. All that stuff. I loved it. That's all great stuff. Anything else for 6 before we go into 7? The sex scene was in 7.
Everything's playing together.
Yeah, probably they probably bleed a little together. Marisol's declaration at the end harkens back to 6. They do tie into very well together. You're right. And this is where I first started to like really think of her as a very tragic character. Was chapter 7. I didn't write almost anything down for 7. I breezed right through it. What about you guys?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I think I was just really absorbed in the story by that point. Again, like I left it kind of a week or just over a week since the last episode, so that it would be really fresh in my mind. And I just got really easily reabsorbed into it.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, especially this deep into the book, it just sucks you right in.
Yep.
Ben, anything left to add? No. All right, chapter 8. The world of the unnamed gods and the origins of creation, and that evil was the second magic, and now it's the ancient beast. And, dude, all of this, a reference to Sleeping Beauty. Did anybody catch that? Hello? Oh my God, so good.
And we had Little Red Riding Hood later as well, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about
that. That was very clever. I liked that little bit. That was cool.
I think by then I didn't write it down because I the Sleeping Beauty one had just like blown me away. There was lots of dragon stuff. Love it. The return to like lore with the beast was intense. Direct contact with the gods and powerful beings is like normal now. We've come such a long way. Ostray's death. Lots of crazy stuff in this chapter. And I only wrote those things down like an hour after I listened to it because I was like, oh yeah, I need to write notes because I absorbed it like a sponge to water. How about you guys?
Seeming death, because it's more of an ascension depending on how you look at it. But I don't know. Emma, what were your thoughts?
This was the point in the book that the telling became a little too much for me because and like I really like the ideas and it's all very clever, but I just felt that it was very told and that I found it hard. It kind of took me out of the story a little bit. Almost like you were saying about kind of like a fairy tale retelling where you're not really in the characters' brains. It's very much this happened. And yes, it's giving a lot of background and everything like that, and it was really cool and helped you to understand the world, which was awesome, but it also took me out of the story a little bit.
We're in 8.
So I find this fascinating because each of us has very drastically different opinions. This was my favorite chapter.
Okay, no, I love this one a lot too. I don't know if it's my favorite one, but it's up there for sure. Absolutely, I'm with you. Why?
So it was fascinating. Like we got in the in the chapters that we covered last time, there was some hints about there are these 4 different birds and they were resting in a space and that created the world and that created the giants, blah 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 blah, whatever. This, it breaks down exactly how the world came to be. It's like Narnia did this too in one of the books. I can't remember. Magician's Nephew, one of them. Horse and His Boy, I don't remember. Either way, it shows how this world was created, and it's such a compelling and fascinating thing because you have these, you have this world of Fae, which is entirely separate from the gods, and then you have these gods just sort of came into being, and then they realize that, oh no, there's this evil presence, and so the gods now need to fight the evil. And because the world they created, humanity comes around and gives substance to those gods. This is the god of of food and beer and whatnot. Then that god kind of became less because they start, or less powerful at least, because they start taking pride in what their aspects are. So the god of beer just becomes more obsessed with himself and making the best beer and like all these worldly possessions instead of focusing on the beast. And so that causes one of the more compassionate gods to have to reach out to the world of the Fae, which are entirely separate, and to convince them to sacrifice their children for a war. And it's this fascinating experience because we already know what's going to happen. We know the end results. And so we kind of see like, it starts off where the Summer Queen is against the entire idea, and the Spring Queen is the one who's like, oh yeah, we have to help out because eventually this problem will become ours. And then you see them switch where, now this one person is like, we are in this fight and we have to do it because otherwise we'll be lost. And then the person who was really for the idea to begin with is like, you were my friend. Talking to the god is like, you were my friend and you betrayed me, and now my children are dying, my nieces and nephews will be dying because it's their sibling phase children. And then ultimately she decides to bring her own child into the human world to try and combat this evil. So it was really cool seeing how everything kind of tied together, and it explains some of the reasoning why the characters and the plot got led astray in those earlier parts, because they had this plan to help Silbrey along, except that her name was changed pretty much immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't able to find her, and like it leads to so much. And let me look at my notes because I have these are out of everything. These are my most important notes because
go for it. I love it.
The Silbrey showdown with the beast. It felt like a scene from Sandman where it's Morbius versus the devil, where they're just bringing substance to their words and then taking form. So it's like because they're these immortal beings, so obviously they can't just sit there and punch each other. So it's, I'm a falcon in flight swooping down and you are the snake. And then the snake's like, well, I have more powerful venom, and so I bite you and strike you. And then it goes back and forth and back and forth. And I felt like when Silbrey was fighting the beast, that's exactly what it was, because they were in this metaphorical place that doesn't have real substance, kind of. And so he would change into a terrifying beast. He would be this giant crab-like creature, and he was spreading out fear. And so Silbrey has to, fight against him and overcome her fear, and then, strike out against him. And in these carefully, like, I have to, now that I've conquered my fear, I can strike his leg, and that'll take him out. And then the beast transforms into something else, and again, until it becomes anger. And Silbrey finally has to come to terms with who she is and the mistakes she's made and kind of become a whole person. So the words and the concepts within this story, Dryad's Crown, they had power where they were otherwise be, shapeless deities.
And to me, this is almost the big, like, climactic ending to the story. And chapter 9 is almost an epilogue. Like it's wrap up, it's post game. Like this is where all the juice is. And Emma, to comment on your going back to telling more than the rest of the book, it only doesn't bother me here because he had already done it at the beginning, and I already understand that to be the fairy tale element, and it almost feels like bookends, because again, this is kind of the end, and then we have like a little epilogue. So in that sense, like it just
I liked it at the beginning. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was really, really clever. I love the thing about her name, and how they'd lost contact with her because her name had been changed. I thought that was
they changed it twice.
That was really, really clever. Kind of the power of a name. That was brilliant. But yeah, it just took me out of the story a little bit.
That's fine.
Yeah, I loved it though. Any other notes on 8? Like I said,
so much happened in each of them. It's like
so crazy. Yeah. Like a lot happens.
It really, really does.
Well, again, them being like little novellas, you're getting almost a complete. That's why I like focused on one for each like session that I sat down to read. Like just like it almost felt like sitting down to watch a movie and then like watching the sequel the next night and the third. That, you know what I mean? Like they're obviously all tied together, but they still felt like they had their own flavor to each individual one. Their own thing going. Yeah, 6 and 7. Ben and I agree, kind of like blend together and become one gigantic one. But yeah, other than that, they all felt very like individual to me. Okay, so 9. Honoring Timon and Ostre hits hard now. Loving it. Dahlia's back. Gideon having to deal with her. Very interesting stuff. Growth of all the characters into like these legendary heroes is just like that's what fantasy's all about, man. That's my bread and butter. Marisol's recovery is well earned. I really enjoyed that. Silbrey finally returning, and that final word was incredibly well delivered by Lindsay Dorcas. Just Silbrey's name breathed by Marisol. Love it. Just great ending for me. You guys.
Yeah, it was great. I loved seeing Silbrey's kids reuniting later on, and as had been promised to them. I thought that was really, really nicely done, because obviously, like they've lost their mother, they've lost their sibling, like they've been put through a lot. They really have, and they know that they're never going to see their mother again. Although I do wonder, as she's kind of now back.
Yeah.
Like
the door of possibility has opened.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there was a lot of emotional stuff going on, and it was all good. Like I said, the ending, it didn't really work for me. I just felt like, I think it kind of leads into it for a few pages, and from like the very first sentence of that section, it was like, I know where this is like going. I can guess the end line, and I thought it was quite strange that she had kind of the end line as well, and as opposed to the character that we've actually followed and has actually done the fighting and the defeating of the monsters and the producing of the kids that go and fight other things. You know what I mean? It's like she's a lovely character. I really, really like her, but she was quite a secondary character, and she doesn't actually really do that much in the story to kind of defeat the bad guys or whatever. So I found it quite strange that she was the one that ended up with the last line.
That's fair enough. In defense of Marisol, like yes, absolutely, she's not one of the big warriors in the battles and whatnot. I feel like she represents like the idea of like the servant, not like in a slave connotation, but in like somebody who truly is there to serve. Like that's the gift that
Samwise Gamgee.
she's
like,
exactly. No matter what, through thick and thin, she's gonna be standing right beside you, even if she's hobbled on a what's it called, a cane. She's there for you, like she's So because of that, and because of like how much that she suffers for for our lead character, I feel like it's almost a gift from the author to this side character who went through so much to like. I'm going to give you your great love back. Here she is. Our main character returns, and she speaks her name. I thought that was kind of lovely. I really like that. Ben, your thoughts?
Okay, so going back to my problems with the boat chapter, where it felt way too long. It felt like it felt like transition. It felt like we're learning about the gods and the world building and the ship captain, and how you need to have a child on the boat, and because the child on the boat is an older adult, there's this conflict there, and it kind of mirrors what will come to pass with Mendel. At least in that transition moment, we knew they were going to the world tree. We knew where they were going, and there was enough of the book left that I figured, oh well, we'll get there and we'll get another climax, and so I could see how the story was progressing and where it wanted to go from there. With here, I thought it was cool and interesting to have Gaiden. We see her as this acclaimed warrior. She basically is the reason why the king took over. So she is this powerful general. And there's all this, again, buildup of, hey, she is going to conflict with Mendel, or she'll at least have some physical confrontation with him. And then the book just ends. Like, she's told, this is one of the few parts I didn't push back, or I didn't think it was an issue where we're told that much, except for this one key point where the trickster god basically tells Gaiden that she is destined to lose her mother, that she's destined to be reunited with her brother in 10 years if she leaves now, and if she doesn't, inhibit her mother from going to the world tree. and they'll go off on many adventures together. And that line is basically repeated in chapter 9, where it's like, hey, they're going to go off on all these adventures. And again, we are told that, but it doesn't come to pass with like everything else comes to pass within the story. She's reunited with her brother, and now we just sort of see like, oh, they're going to go off and have a whole bunch of adventures. But the if each book is its own mini novella, then the problem raised within this novella is never truly resolved. Where
sure,
and it doesn't need to be fully resolved, but there were multiple references to the upcoming, not election, but the upcoming decision of who's going to be the High General that were alluded to. And I felt like it was kind of a letdown that nothing really was resolved. There wasn't even a confrontation of like her running into Mendel and saying, oh, I'll get you next time, or we'll be back and we'll stop you from getting what you want. It was just kind of, hey, here's Mendel's backstory. And then here's what's happened to Gaydon, and here's what's happened to all these other characters. So it felt like it felt like it was ramping up to something that never happened.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I didn't clash with that. I can definitely see why you are. I believe at the time of reading it, I probably was taking that to be setting up future books.
It absolutely is, and
series, So
it
didn't bother me. Yeah, like it's like, okay, so like this is what I'll be coming back for, is these new adventures later. So I was like, okay,
right. But
I didn't clash with that one.
If you're going to do that, then we should have everything, be condensed, so it'd be like a true epilogue where Gaydon comes in and she reunites with her brother, and he's like, oh well, we have this high, whatever it's called, what's the position?
I can't remember.
It's basically the ruler of the city that's not a king.
Yeah.
High general. So if Gaydon comes in and she meets up with her brother, and her brother's like, you're perfect for this high general position, and that's where like it ends with her storyline. She doesn't have her confrontation with Dahlia, she doesn't do this and the other, and we say that for the next book, then I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it, because it would be massively condensed into like a true epilogue. And then you can have the Marisol moment where she meets up with Silbrey, and that whole thing like took a page. So most of book 9 is just what's happening with Gaydon and the realms that she's traveled through. So I feel like if that were condensed down, then it would be a true epilogue, and that would be a better setup, in my opinion. That I would enjoy that more as a setup for a future book than this, which is kind of like, hey, we're going somewhere, to be continued.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that Dahlia did have to be kind of dealt with in this book, if you like, because it was Silbrey who was her daughter, and we're kind of seeing the end of Silbrey's like story adventures, if you like. So for there to be completeness with that for this book, I think that Dahlia did.
How do you feel about Gaydon killing Dahlia then?
I love that. I thought that was really, really great that the daughter ended up kind of having vengeance for the mother. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
That worked well for me.
I felt the same. That worked well for me too. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on the Dryad's Crown? I recommend it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I'd really recommend it. I thought it was really great. Yeah, definitely.
Looking forward to the next one. Cool. Okay, let's do it then. Nominees for our first book of 2024. You guys want me to go first?
Well, what about everyone else? Didn't Shannon and Bethany give you their thoughts on?
They did. I will do theirs first then. Okay, so I saved the image, but I didn't have it prepped. But I have Bethany's is the number 47 by Hannah R. Palmer. Has been nominated in the past.
I meant their thoughts on Dryad's Crown.
Oh no, I didn't get any thoughts from them.
Okay, then ignore what I said.
Sorry. So yeah, Bethany's is number 47 by Hannah R. Palmer. It's been nominated before. Let's see how it does this time. It did pretty well last time, I think. And Shannon's is Only Human, book 1 of the Human Cycle, a novel by J.D. Estrada. Love it. Love the name. Estrada. All right, who wants to go next? Emma?
Sure. My nomination is for Shannon's book. So it's Esther Houston's A Curse of Scale and Feathers. So that's the book that she had amazing success with her Kickstarter campaign for. And if anybody hasn't checked out her channel and has kind of seen the videos about that, definitely do if that's something you're interested in. And I cannot wait to read the story.
Awesome. Ben?
Yeah, I have this. It's called Techno Paladin. I don't know if it technically qualifies because I'm not sure that this person's an author tuber, but it's an indie author that I met at a conference. So it's by Elizabeth Corrigan, and it looks like it's a fun mix of fantasy and sci-fi. Obviously, you have your magic mix where there's sci-fi, so I figure that that has a home on Adrian's channel. So I don't really know about it, but I am curious to read.
It's got a banging cover. I like that. Cool. I won't be a dick about it. You can use that one. Maybe they do have an author tube channel. I don't know. Okay. Here's the thing, and I'm going to need you guys to help me figure this out. We did the McMurdo Rift on this book club before. He has the third book, the McMurdo War, coming out next month. So should my nominee be book 2 or the book that's actually coming out, because that's the one that he wants to hype up right now?
Nobody's really going to want to read book 3 without reading 1 and 2. I've read 1 as well, and it's great fun.
I've read 1. I haven't read 2 either. I would have to read 2 before we get to that.
Is 3 available though? Because if it's not available,
it will be.
It launches next month, and this is our last book for this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, this is our last book for this year, so we would be back early next year. So at that point, it will be out, and it gives us time to read book 2 on our own if we want to do that. But if we want to do it for the book club, anyway, it's just a nomination. It could just not win, but still, what do you guys think? 2 or 3? 2. 3?
I would go with 2.
Ben, you are no help. You are no help whatsoever. He's going like this.
Put it to the poll. See what the audience thinks.
There is no audience. It's just us. We're talking. We're screaming into the void.
What?
I just finished reading Falling Through.
Oh, yes.
Like the other day, and I really liked it.
Thank
Falling
you.
Through is
That's
dope.
wonderful.
I still haven't read Expanding Cracks, but Falling Through is awesome.
Take your time.
We'll get there. Dude.
Well, you made a kick-ass trailer for it, so yeah.
I did indeed. That was fun. I like making that trailer. That was a good one,
actually.
All right, so I'm going to just go with 2. The Dryads, the McMurdo Triangle. What the fuck? By Bradley Lejeune, and the Lejeune is Martin Lejeune, and that's who we're doing. So awesome. So I'll put the nominees up on a poll. It will be available on YouTube. It will be available on the Facebook group, and I'll also send it out through the newsletter. So you have no excuses. Vote. And we'll be back. We'll be back next year, early next year. I don't know when yet. We will confer within ourselves and figure that out, and I'll let you guys know at home. You guys want to do your outros? Emma, you're up first.
Sure. Okay. Hey, I'm Emma Bennett. I have a YouTube channel. Go and check it out if you haven't already. I write kissing books, children's picture books, and non-fiction for writers. And I kind of follow my author journey on my channel, and I share tips and tricks, vlogs, all kinds of good stuff, and sometimes some writing sprints. So yeah, you'll find me over there.
A very fun channel. Running to Write is also a fun channel. Tell us about that.
Hey, Ben Pick, Running to Write, questionable writing advice through running metaphors. I also go off on random tangents about the foods I've eaten, the runs I've gone on, and just fun things in the writing community. So it's, there's usually somebody in the comments that's distracting me, and I will chase after every squirrel. I also write urban fantasies.
You chasing squirrels? We have one episode left in this year. I almost forgot. We have the interview with David Hopkins. So be back in 2 weeks for that. And that's where we'll announce the winner of the poll and what we're doing next year. I believe that falls on December 12th is our episode for that one. I have been Adrian. I wrote that. Go get it. It's fun. And leave a review. And for everyone who joined us in reading the Dryad's Crown, please be sure to leave a review on wherever you leave reviews. Amazon, Goodreads, whatever it is. Find the book, leave a review. Please, that's what the book club is for. Let's help each other out. Thank you guys for joining me. This was fun. I really like this one.
You too.
All right. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you for having us.
Yay. All right. Here we go. Bye.